incubation and humidity. Okay, we're going to go in Fahrenheit. I'm not going to get into the specifics. I want to make this easy and give you a general understanding so you can get a fixed understanding. So I'm going to go through this. This is primarily due to the fact that Matt is not on a learning curve. I sent him this information in December, and when he wasn't doing it, I sent it again, I don't know, April, May. He still isn't doing it. In fact, the first time he candled, he didn't even candle the first year, and when he candled this year, he first candled from the end. Well, I'm going to skip that for right now. Let's get into this. Your Fahrenheit temperature is going to be 99.5. If you're doing it in centigrade, you have to convert it. You know where that is. That is more or less a fixed figure. Your humidity reading, I'm going to use a percentage, is range around 55%, 60%, somewhere in there. Okay? That reading has to be gauged with your air cell progression. As this air cell grows, when you're a fresh egg, it's way up here if you ever candle a fresh egg. By the way, when an egg is discolored in any way at all, something is looking not quite right in here, that is the early stage of a dead embryo. It is not infertile. It was fertile. An infertile egg, one candle, I don't care how many days down the road you go, it's going to look as clear as a fresh egg, except the air cell will be much more dried out. But it doesn't dry out at this progression because there's no embryo in there. It's infertile. But your other ones that have a discoloration are dead early embryos in the very early stages. But he's just going on infertile, infertile, infertile. No. Anyways, here we go. If your humidity and you candle on the 7th day, you candle from the large end. You can do this quickly. What you look for is your air cell to be at this level at the 7th day, and you look for veins. The veins tell you it's alive. When you're done, you move on to the next one. If this is not at that point on the 7th day and it's more like up here, then your 95.5 stays the same, but your humidity adjustment has to drop. You have to change that. You have to do it till this progresses. You have to get it. By the 14th day, it should be here, and so forth. Another thing, that what I do is I get incubators. I buy incubators that are proven for years. The GQF is an excellent one. I do not bother with hatchers for this reason. It takes up space, and you don't really need them. What I do is I'd rather have 2 or 3 smaller incubators, and then I use one for a hatcher when it comes to time. But say I got a certain set of eggs that are up here where they should be down here, and the rest of the group is there. I'll take them and put them in that incubator. Or if I have setting hens out there, chickens that are selectively for sitting, which will sit 3 months on end, those eggs that are too high in humidity or aren't dropping, and I don't want to reduce the incubator humidity, I'll put them under a chicken for a few weeks or whatever. It usually helps to drop it. So that's the reason I rather run. I make the statement. One big incubator, one big coffin. I don't trust them. You have to have years into it, and well, you know, if you do your studies on the right type of mix, fine. But I don't know about that one he's got. But I'm telling you, right now his humidity is way off, and it could be adjusted. He should be candling and seeing this. Here we go for duck eggs. I just changed the numbers, but the progression is the same. On the 9th day of candling, it should be down here. On the 18th day, it should be down here. If it's not, it's up here. Now, during hatching time, the beak with the egg tooth will make a crack here. It will bust through the membrane that's along here and stay there for a while and start to breathe. It'll breathe for about 24 hours, 20, whatever it is, and that's when it's absorbing its yolk and all the veins are shutting down. Then it begins to turn and it starts to crack right over here. If you notice, the distance between here and there is far greater than here. This is like opening up a door. If it's pipping up here, it's still got too much moisture in here. It's mixed with albumin. As it picks, it doesn't have, its head is in a different position. It also is growing in a different position, so you've got a good chance of getting deformities. Or what you're also going to get is eggs that start hatching on some day, and the whole set won't finish until a day or two later. Under hens, they hatch in that 24-hour period. They sit underneath there and dry off for another 24 hours and leave the nest, all of them at the same time. They all hatch consistently. Every setting, regardless it's 1 egg or 20 eggs or 100 eggs, 1,000 eggs, they will all hatch, and you can open that hatcher or incubator, and all the ones that are going to hatch should all be hatched, and your percentage should be, he says 70, it should be above that. So you can be, I know different ways to get it up to 95 if you need it that. I've done it more than once. I've done it with swans. I got 100% out of 10 swan eggs without any sweat, and I was hardly even there. I just did my settings and I did my readings. These are the readings. This is your gauge. This is what indicates and tells you how to set your humidity. You adjust that. If it's at 55% and it's doing this, fine. You leave it alone. If it's not, you have to adjust accordingly. Now again, if it's pipping up here, and then you're in trouble. If this is at this level or higher, and it goes into the hatcher, it's pretty much a done deal. You're going to be at a struggle from that time point forward to get that hatch to do anything. You're going to be there chipping away at this, trying to help that embryo. Sometimes you can get the head out. You're going to see that the head is going to be slightly swollen or so. It won't have the correct shape, but when it dries off, it generally will. But that's because of too much water in it and the weight. When it's down living in here, everything is in the right proportions. The legs are in the right spot, the head's in the right spot, the wings, everything, the body conforms into this area. If it's living up in this area on the last 2 weeks, well, it's got more room and it's floating in a lot of liquid. It's going to be, when it's active, it's moving around, so it can get itself into a position where it will be born with a crooked neck or a crooked foot, or I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of things that can happen. You just can avoid all that. Here's what you do. You do your humidity thing. Cracks around here and opens up the door. I've also suggested to him, go out and candle those Muscovy eggs. When you candle them, you will see this progression in there, and you can compare it to the ones you got in the incubator. This is going to be more in line with the Muscovies because that's natural incubation. Then you're going to be able to see that your mechanical device, that's what it is this a mechanical device? You have to become one with the egg and with the incubator. You have to know it. Spending 5 hours candling and waking up embryos is nothing that you do. If eggs at a hatcher were hatching up here and they had to hire people to peel them out, do you think that they would or could afford that? No. You won't even be a consistent hatch where you could ship. It's just that simple. I hope it's that simple. I hope it's that easy for you to understand. The embryo must be living down in this area, not in this entire area, when they are going to the hatcher. When you're up here, you're in trouble. Plus, your humidity in your hatcher is going to be higher. Also, the embryo is giving off a lot more heat. That's why you drop your temperature about 1 degree when it goes into the hatcher. What I do, I just move them to the other incubator and use that as a hatcher. And then I always have a spare incubator as an emergency thing. If I had a hatcher only, I could convert it over, but I wouldn't have any of the manual turning. I mean, I'd have to turn everything manually, and I don't want to get into that. So, if you want a hatcher, fine. but it's not necessary. You can get into large numbers of hatches without having them. I just find that it takes up too much space where you can have other incubators, and each one you've got to tweak it a bit, but those GQFs, they're right on. They're darn good. So we can get into a little more at another time, but I had to get this out of the way. I'm not going to bring in my birds or my eggs. I might bring in one egg or two here. I got a portable incubator. I'm doing this out of my office, not where I keep my birds, and I'm not going out there to do a bunch of videos on this stuff because I consider this private. I got some very expensive ones, and I'm just trying to teach the new people out there what to look for, how to understand this. It's not that complicated. It really, really isn't. You don't have to have a lot of experience. All you got to do is learn these one process at a time here. If any of you guys have any questions or want any specifics on anything, fine. You can contact me through, I guess, this channel or any way you want. And I'll be, happy to help anyone that wants to get there and doesn't want to go through the headaches and the misfits, calling the little ones and all that. But anyways, these dates, you can take them, break them down, and you can do a Muscovy date on here. And you can judge them too. But Muscovies aren't not necessarily that difficult to hatch. In fact, I just quit hatching them in an incubator and I let the hens do it all the time. I didn't, they were doing fine. 85% or more. I mean, that was me. And I had some really crude incubators too. I used to go to auctions. I'd see one, and it was an old one, and the guy, don't hatch. And I said, well, how much you pay for it? Oh, $500. I just want to get rid of it. Well, let's take 100. Take it home, clean it up, change a few things, run it, practice with it. Always run it like 30, 40 days before incubation. Try it. Hey, and then as long as you're one with that incubator, you do things, you can do everything. But that one he's got, I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't like about it. He's got that heating element at the bottom there where you, his humidity thing there. I don't quite get that. Why it's there. All of mine are above the eggs. My fan intake, I will draw pictures of this probably. My heating element, and then my humidity tray comes right after that. So everything's above everything, and then it blows and then goes down through the incubator. There's no heat coming from the bottom up. That thing I question. I question that whole incubator to begin with. I can't really find it, and I don't know why I would even go with it because I already know what works. And this is his choice. I'm not holding that against him, but I'm just holding his learning curve. He's got to get on his learning curve. Let's quit with the doggy thing and learn this. Alright, I'm not bashing. Nobody, if you're going to try to accuse me of that, I ain't going to bother with you. I want people to learn this. It's not that difficult, and you shouldn't have to go through all of these problems because spring only comes across once a year. And I've done 100% with wood ducks, triple clutched them, hatched them under hens, broody hens, hatched them in incubators. I did have trouble with mandarins. The fertility wasn't showing. I put them under chickens, and I got like 90% hatch, and I just blew my mind. Well, I checked back on that, and I realized I was working from an inbred bloodline. So I brought some in from Canada and bred them the next year, but I never went zero because of any of this. I always had some good results, and I would catch it in the season before it was over. So, and then I knew I wasn't going to resell those ones to another breeder. I'm not going to screw somebody else and tell them, oh yeah, these are unrelated. No. I don't do that. I kept back the hens. I sold off the males, and I bred them back to the ones I imported from Canada, which does cost a few bucks, but that's the way you breed correctly, especially when it comes to wild waterfowl. Alright, we can get into this sometime later. and I'm going to cover a lot of other areas. This is not a bashing video. I'm not going to try to involve him too much, but that whole Muscovy setup, when he accused that female of killing her eggs, that is totally nuts. That female was willing to set it, just could not get back into those eggs in time, and they died. That is Matt's fault. He's got to accept responsibilities on this. Yes, those Muscovies were flying out. Fine. You know that. You know it could happen at any time. Doesn't mean they're going to get back in there. If you've had Muscovies for a few years, I have been able to train them to fly in and out of places, but there was no, that was not going to happen here. You have to be ready for these things in advance. It's your responsibility not to have it happen. You did more damage that way than a predator would. So that's enough for now. I'm getting over this, and I'm going to make educational videos for other people to do it, so you don't have to go through these hardships. Thank you very much for watching. You can comment if you want, or contact me, and we can go on some more.